Hello and welcome back to RageGamingVideos. My name is Hollow and today I'm back to talk more lore and potential DLC. You see, I made a video about this topic very recently. We went over some major theories and I will be talking more about that today. But before I do that, I should let you know, this is obviously spoiler territory. We're talking big lore, endgame stuff. So if that bothers you, don't watch this video. To give you some context though, every From Software title has received either DLC or multiple DLCs, except for Demon Souls and Sekiro. There's been free updates like the PvP updates or the boss rush modes, and then obviously major content updates with paid DLC, adding huge new areas, characters, story, and of course bosses with all the new equipment to go with it. There's things that would be so good to have in Elden Ring, like, yeah, boss rush, because there's so many good bosses in this game. Having them all in one place, maybe even with a hard mode or challenges, that would be incredible, kind of what we saw with Sekiro. But what we're more focused on today is the two things that I saw in the comments of the first video that are actually in the game right now that could be tied to the DLC, and in fact one of them seems very likely, so we're going to take a look at that. So let's just get into it. Firstly, we have the huge landmass that is north, slightly northwest of the whole area of the lands between. This is what I'm looking at right behind me, just beyond the mist there. What we're seeing is beyond this long mass of water, actually this kind of wrapping landmass around the north area. Now, we do know that there are other areas from the lore of the lands between, areas that are pretty near and with their own lore. There's the Newman, the land of reeds, the place that the Caden sellswords come from. Now, a big question I asked last time was, where will the DLC be? Obviously, there is the big fan theory that a lot of people are talking about to do with the towers of the world, how they all kind of intersect into sort of a hexagon shape, and in the middle of that hexagon is this cloud. People were saying that maybe that could be Malenia's tower or Miquella's tower, but it isn't a huge area to do something in terms of land mass. Or they could do something with the underground area and extend on this, of course. But for a major DLC, they're going to need a lot more, well, space, aren't they? A huge region to play in. We can see this landmass that wraps around beyond those shores, something that is not on the map and could potentially be a landmass for content. You might be thinking, well, you're looking at something that's just in-game, right? Well, no, you can see things that are in-game. Like, for example, we can just barely see the Halig tree from here, which is really cool. So I was wondering what that landmass could be to the north, if there was anything in-game that currently references it in any way that I know. Comments in that first video actually said about the Caden sellswords and something of their equipment actually referencing it. So I've killed a couple of them and I've got the chest piece, worn by the Caden sellswords. Thanks to its pelt of a snow wolf, it protects against the cold. These hulking, fearless mercenaries are said to hail from the mountaintops of the wintry north and are adept at fighting on horseback. Caden is actually the name of the home settlement. Now, we obviously know about the mountaintops of the giants. That doesn't seem like the area it's speaking about. I don't believe I've seen any Caden sellswords there. And obviously this area is not called Caden. So a wintry area to the north, but it's obviously not the Halig tree. And when we go from the Shaded Castle and go north, well, that is the area that we're looking at. So that could be potentially, I suppose, a place for DLC. It is a landmass that exists that they could work into an actual area. And much like how the map would continuously get bigger and bigger and bigger as you explored more and more, they could easily slap that on at the top side of this map, maybe on the west side. That interesting landmass aside though, now it's time to talk about the big one that so many people brought up, and I mean, is a damn good point. There are some very unusual and interesting Colosseums around the world, which is why I'm standing in front of one. This is the one here in Limgrave at the northern point. And as you can see, it makes quite an interesting shape. It's like a circle that has fallen away, almost like it's lost half of it. Maybe it's just happened to have fallen into the sea. But then there's another one, this one here in Caelid. This has not fallen off into the sea. There's still a space here for the other half of the circle, and yet it is broken off in the way that is very similar to the other one. And again, the third Colosseum on the map, this one in Lindell. This one looks a bit more, well, formed. It's got the outline, but it's still cut off. It's missing a chunk of it. That shape really reminds me of something, which is where I am now, as you can see. These sort of dishes that are broken in half, a circle that is cut in half. These are where you pick up the Starlight Shard items. A very useful, important item because when you use them, it recovers FP gradually. As we know, the sorcerers or the magicians, the wizards of this world, well, they have a lot to do with the moon and the stars and learning from the cosmos. That made me wonder about the shape of these Colosseums and why they are so familiar or similar, but there's actually lore on these Colosseums. If we make our way to the Lindell Colosseum, which looks absolutely brilliant, grandiose, there's a duelist that is walking up here, and another one that guards the entrance. These duelists drop their armor set, and of course, their weapon. When we take a look at the entrance of this specific Colosseum of Lindell, you can clearly see the Erd tree marked in those doors. This is a place run by, and I guess sanctioned by, the Erd tree faction. When we look at the armor, it actually has lore in it. A bronze helm decorated with innumerable snakes, worn by gladiators who were driven from the Colosseum. The wearer becomes a slightly easier target for foes. You see, the snake is viewed as a traitor to the Erd tree, and the audience delighted in seeing those bronze effigies beaten and battered. So the reason that the Colosseum gladiators wear this equipment, it's because these are bad people. They are people viewed by the Erd Tree Society as traitors. So they want to see them in the Colosseum, and they want them as the villain. They enjoy when they see people wearing this equipment, this armor, when they lose. Of course, referencing to Rykard, who is the blasphemer and obviously the snake. So clearly this Colosseum is run as a way to punish traitors or criminals, while also providing sport and entertainment to the civilization here. Meanwhile, as we go back to the Limgrave Colosseum, we see a lot of the golem bodies that have died here or have fallen to disrepair. Maybe they guarded this place? Maybe they fought in this place. But what we can say for sure is this place, compared to Lindell, is a ruin, is run down. I mean, it's covered in moss and roots and vines. It hasn't been seeing kind of an upkeep, maybe hasn't been run in a long time. But thanks to YouTuber Lance McDonald, we can have a look inside. It seems he's using some kind of no-clip or cheat engine to have a look inside of this Colosseum and see what's rendered. And as you can see, there's fully rendered hallways and entrances leading into this area, and it opens up into the sandy circle where that fight would actually take place. And there's even lifts and elevators that take you down below, seemingly into waiting areas where I guess the duelist would be brought up from. Why would something like this be so well designed, so intricate, so clearly set up to be used, even with those elevators for an entrance, and then not be a feature we can even interact with or use in any way? Well, of course, that makes me think of DLC, doesn't it? You see, this is not the first time we've seen these arenas or Colosseums. Actually, we've seen it in Dark Souls 3. As part of DLC, the Hollow Arena was added. In this Dark Souls 3 arena then, we had a couple options. We could set up duels or brawl modes. Duels being the 1v1s as we know them today, and you had no healing, you couldn't use it. While they did give you some flasks to restore your mana. Brawl, on the other hand, quite interesting, cool setup. 4 or 6 players battle it out. Ran as a free-for-all, everyone against everyone, or you could do teams, so 2v2 or 3v3. You'd even get a heal refill on killing an enemy. If you were going against someone more than 10 levels higher than you, their stats would actually be reduced to match you. And there was private modes of this as well. If you added a password, you could do like private matchmaking with friends. A simple and neat feature, a matchmaking way to do PvP in the Souls series was wonderful. And it's not the first time they've done that. Like in Dark Souls 2, they had a very similar thing. It was a covenant for PvP and an arena that you would play in. A lot of people look back at Dark Souls 2 PvP as some of the best in the series. So it's really cool to see that be brought forward in a way to Dark Souls 3, and clearly these Colosseums, they must be tied to that, right? Our last arena though is the one in Caelid, which is where I'm standing right now, with this giant pot warrior just sat in front of it with arms crossed. And they do not speak, sadly. However, what you can do once you speak to them is 3 invasion signs will appear. After you do those 3 invasions, you'll be rewarded. He'll give you the Great Jar's Arsenal Talisman, which vastly increases your equipment load. The Great Jar grants this talisman to their warriors. Carry as much as you can. Grow big and strong. He's in the way of the entrance, but it's not a big deal to walk past him. Once again, we do have the symbols of the Erd Tree here, but just like the Limgrave one, it has fallen into disrepair. I don't think as bad as the Limgrave one, perhaps because the jar is here. Maybe he looks after it in some way. But like I say, this one actually has an area here that maybe could be used for something rather than just completely falling off into the sea like the Limgrave one. But yeah, as I mentioned with the Dark Souls 3 arenas, there were multiple arenas for different settings, and that would be perfect for this, wouldn't it? You've got a Caelid themed one, you've got a Limgrave themed one, and then you've got the Golden Lindell themed one. It seems very likely this will happen. We could expect a free update or a major update before the full DLC. And I could see these 3 Colosseums and a PvP matchmaking system using these arenas to come at some point much sooner than a main DLC. They're in the game already, they're fully fleshed out as we saw, they really just need to be unlocked and let us run some matchmaking with them. It would breathe some life into the game again, so maybe it wouldn't be something we'd see too far in the future. But that is everything for today. A huge thank you to you guys for dropping some comments on the first DLC talk video and lore video that I've made for the channel. The support and positivity was really appreciated. It's something I've been wanting to do for a Souls game for a really long time, as well as the other information to let me talk about the Caden Island, if that's what it is, and of course referencing the PvP Colosseums. If you have anything else to add to this topic, then please let me know. But for now, I think we can at very least expect a minor update and maybe some proper DLC. My money is still on Miquella being a major aspect of the DLC, but it would be really cool to see, say, like the boss rush or replay boss fights in a game like this with so many bosses in it like we saw with Sekiro. Otherwise, for now, that's everything. So until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.